Hi, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. How was your exam? Was good? Why? Huh? If you are focused, lectures, you focus, you will for the sake level. Great. So today we will talk about another aspect of patient safety, which is going to be related to medications. Start there. So medication safety is another pillar of safety. If you wouldn't mind, just to keep your chat with me so we can focus, because I hear lots of noise. I can't really construct my statements. Thank you. So medication safety is another pillar of patient safety. It's very important to understand that patient safety is not only about yes, it's going to be very tough for me to speak if you're not focusing. Okay. Thank you. لحظة صمت. So medication safety is very important. The reason why we deal with medication in hospitals is part of our treatment plans. We will not be able to treat patients without giving sort of medications or drugs to the patients. So that's why we have to understand how we're going to handle this important task, which is going to be almost in every aspect of your care delivery. When you see patients, you see besides them there is a medication. You will not be able to do a procedure if you are not going to be medicate the patients with anesthesia or sedation or painkillers or even some antibiotics for prophylaxis, okay, just to reduce the chances of hospital-acquired infections. And after the patients leave the OR or the operation theater, the patient will be transferred to an inpatient or recovery room or ICU. If the patient is going to be transferred to these locations, the patient has to have also continuous monitoring of all the medications are in progress as part of their treatment protocol. And the patients, when they go and they leave the hospital, the patients have to be aware about the urgency, the importance, and how critical is these medications, and how significant is these medications can help them to revive and also to recover from their diseases. The most important thing is that sometimes we are not in the fully control of patients because patients can take these medications at home by themselves. If you do not instruct the patient, educate the patient how and when and what to take, these things will be very concerning. Do you recall the 5 rights?
Right time, right patient.
Yeah, this right there. It's very important. The 5 rights for medication use. You should type, right? And what else?
The effective.
No. I have to ensure like
Base.
like
Yeah. Yani you get a higher level of communication, keep it away from those.
yes, like words. Anything else?
Formulation where the capsule form tablet
It's under words.
patients,
What's that?
patients.
Right.
The right drug.
Right.
Then the right
Yeah. It's because around of the frequency, which is so all of these images, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have like my indication is X, Y, Z. And it has to be at 8 o'clock. And the frequency has to be PUQ example, which is daily. And the route has to be IV. Or PO, which is 5 hours. Or IM, which is a minute. Yeah. And the patient, I have to check the patient now. How do you check your patients?
full name, MRN.
Yes, full name. Full name. Plus. Another name. And right, the right here. So always we have to keep an eye on these 5 dimensions. They call them, some of them they call them 6 dimensions. They include documentation. Sometimes they break down the frequency from the time or they are related to the route itself. So you have to understand whatever the 6 or 5, these are the most important steps that you have to follow upon prescribing. You have to identify the patients, the drug, the route, frequency, the time, and the dose itself. All of these are very important for us to manage medications. Do you remember the definition of patient safety? We just want to recall it again. It's the prevention of errors and adverse effects. What's the difference between errors and adverse effects?
An adverse effect can happen even if you're given the right dose and the right medication.
Yeah.
But an error can happen because you did something wrong.
Okay.
Like
The second part is wrong, correct? The first part is wrong. What's the difference between adverse effects and medication error?
An error is what you did, and adverse effect is what happened.
Exactly. Thank you. It's the outcome of your action. So the action is the medication error, or let's say the medical error. I did by mistake 1, 2, 3, and that wrong action has resulted in 1, 2, 3 symptoms or problems or outcomes which are considered as adverse effects. In medication, we call it adverse reaction, drug reaction, ADR. You will hear it a lot, ADR all the time. The prevention of errors and adverse effects to patients associated with healthcare. Again, why we are here? We are here because we are healthcare providers. Why we are studying medication safety? Because we are providing care for unhealthy people. We call them patients. So that's why we have to consider patient safety is to protect patients from our actions. We understand that the complexity of the system has resulted in many things. Sorry? Yeah, many errors. And why? Because of lack of communication. Can you give me some examples of complexity in the system in healthcare, in hospitals? I know some of you have visited King Faisal recently, right? How many of you? Only 1, 2, 3. Only 3 people? Only 3? Only 3? Where are you? Absent? Who visited King Faisal recently? So who didn't raise your hand? Shy? Well, if you graduated, you will wish that you will accept it. It's one of the best places. Okay, so give me some examples about the complexity. How complex is the system? Any examples? Do you think it's easy flow in the hospital?
No.
Why?
Should use so many places. Because one patient gets administered and so many different sections will be involved in his administration.
Okay, so he's administered like medication.
Many systems are working with the same patient,
Okay,
and they all, this can be,
give me some examples.
we're administering a patient, but after administering him, he went to the doctor,
Yeah, administered medication.
that administered the patient.
Admitted.
Yeah, so the patient came in مثلا, and he goes to the doctor's office, doctor sends him to the lab to do some tests.
And admission will not take the patient to Germans. The patient will be dependent on this on her board. So you have the patients is only on outpatient.
Yeah, I'm taking an outpatient.
So you go to outpatient, you say about what
So because there are so many systems, and the lab like assist an operation system on its own, the imaging on their own, pharmacy on their own. This is basically a complexity of the healthcare.
Okay, so you have, let's say, pharmacy, lab, radiology, and in between the patients and the like. So how complex is this? Tell me something like this. You predict, you envision that you have a patient or a physician, you would be confronting with such challenge.
The basic,
What's that?
the basic inheritance is the old sound that you need to about.
Okay, different levels, like what?
I mean, for example,
Very important, by the way, I mean, to you see the chart tomorrow. You say, oh, okay, I think this. So we are picturing the hospital. That's the nature of hospital. We have corridors, we have walls, we set up just like a hotel. It's not a hotel. However, it's like rooms for guests, which we call it rooms for patients. The patients they come to hotel by of the guests, they come to hotel by themselves. They wish to go there. It's something which is good to go to a hotel. It's bad to go to a hospital because you're sick, you're in pain. It's not you didn't have any other choices except that you have to go. So I'm already forced to go to the hospital because I'm sick. I have a disease. I need to okay. Next, you get into outpatients. With our connection. So we went to the physician, we discussed from main labs, pharmacy, communications, some images of radiology, and it's a secondary clinical. Tell me, what's the problem? What's the heck? It's okay. I mean, we get the orders are already disseminated to the groups. I'm not sure. You need to answer me. Was this disseminated, communicated publicly? What is it? Why communication is a problem?
It would مثلا sometimes there is no communication. You might if there is no communication between doctors, you either might ask for the same test more than once, and this is like waste of material, or maybe let's say I, as a doctor, I gave the patient like I prescribed a drug that is like contraindicated for this patient because he has other like problems.
Yeah.
But under cardiology, I don't care about that.
X.
Or drug interactions.
And this is exactly how to go to the basic. What is the basic in our lectures? Since we start. Give me one slide, it's the basic.
Medication.
What's that?
Medication.
Quality.
Yeah.
Safety.
See, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So what's your name?
So that's
Huda has mentioned lots of constraints in relation to safety, right? The T is time, okay? And the 3 is effectiveness, efficiency, accountability, and patience. So to okay. Okay, you mentioned something clear indication.
yeah.
I say that you call this and you are convergence. And you got read my and I do believe you mentioned about communication, right? Okay. So the communication is the key. And it's actually, I'll tell you something. 99.9 our problem comes from communication. Communication, everything. If I didn't communicate with you now, imagine if I didn't communicate with you. You will not understand. Okay? Then I switch this slide off. Okay? I will not be able to communicate my ideas with that slide. So it will be like communication breakdown. If I mention to you something over and over and over, it will be over communication, you get exhausted, and then you start to reveal. Okay? Similar to certain sessions, how many of you have attended like, well, let's say, it's you, just my age. How many of you have attended, let's say, a movie, for example, but then from 10 minutes you change your mind and you leave the theater. Okay? Okay, because you pay, you're not paying. Yes? But let's say it's free. And there is like 3 or 4 theaters, and we tell you choose anyone. So you will go there, you see if this sketch, was it good or not?
No.
The accent. What?
I don't like.
Okay, so you say no, it will change. Why? Because of the communication skills you don't use it. You don't engage. You don't do something very hard. So that's why you decided to do that way. Same thing in actually in our life. In our life, sometimes between you and your brother or sister, you don't communicate properly. You will not understand each other. And this will result in a gap between you and them. And that gap will create inadequate or improper communication.
For documentation, communication,
Yeah,
it's either we need to lack of coherence of the patient,
yeah,
or the patient will go to other doctors for the signature. You didn't like the doctor.
yeah. That's why sometimes, especially in the private sector, patients will even await the physician, not because that physician is very familiar or very excellent, and but because that physician he obviously listens carefully to the patient's needs. He communicates with eye contact. He didn't really use some distraction or instructions during the session. So that's why we want to go, we will ask the nurse or somebody outside, if you want to get anyone inside, because I will focus on my patients. I have to provide the patients full attention. Okay? And when I speak with the patients, I will be listening, not hearing. Hearing is easy. There is some you are hearing me now, but not listening. If I say you, can you repeat what I said just a while ago? I don't. No, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, doctor.
Now, yes.
No,
وريك شوي دكتور اصلح حقك على بعض.
لا حبيبي.
معك.
It's not why the after let's say 12 or 15 seconds, you realize, yeah, this is something. Okay, so that's why. This is good. Say listen. You listen. Okay. How do you listen? You listen back. You say, I told you something that you say. Interesting. You know, you don't have to agree with the patients. You have to understand the patients. So the patient, they say, since you give me that indication, I become, let's say, having some insomnia, for example, or I'm not able to eat. And you understand the problem because of actually that medication. But this medication has nothing to do with, let's say, the appetite. Okay? Or the sleeping patterns will not be changed. I know because I'm a physician. I read already the mechanism of action of that medication. Maybe he has figured out something else. So when I asked him about his lifestyle, he said, "Well, I drink like 5 or 15 cups of coffee every day." It's okay, thank you. As for answer, it's not related. I understand that you are suffering from, let's say, losing anorexia, for example, but this is not related to what you have mentioned. What the indication that I give it to you, in fact, is related to your lifestyle. You need to adjust the number of coffee consumption every day. Okay? Why I have acted or reacted? Because I was listening for the patients. I won't stop the patient. Sometimes we stop the patient. No. Let's say you have, let's say, a sore throat. Because I think I have this last week. Most physicians say, how do you diagnose?
Yeah.
Who are you to diagnose? Okay, I'm sorry. I think this is like, okay, even think I decide. This is what we call it. It's like a very interesting approach. It's like the father and son. Don't do it, right? Do it like 1-to-1. Okay? Understand? Maybe I'm a patient. And I have the right to say, well, I feel that this tumor is malignant. I know, really, I do, we can't diagnose it until we do lots of tests and also lots of investigation. You can't tell me why. Because I have a history of cancer. So that's why I want to understand you. Whereas I know we will investigate it and such process they take time. So I would say for sure that the science that you have got is all doing it. And let's wait for them. You see, this is how we, as physicians, we have to act. The problem, what I'm saying, you might not see it in the real world. It's very visible, and because of complexity. Complex, even your mind is complex. I don't want to speak with policy, policy have nothing to do. I'm a physician, policy never want to speak with a physician. We know everything about medication. They didn't know about medication. And why do you have to prescribe 2 antibiotics at the same time? This is like very risky to the patient. I will stop that. The nurse, she has the full picture of the patients. The physician, he never touch the patients. The nurse never touch the patients. The nurse always meet the patients' families and caregivers. The physician, he barely have they call the patients. Because he's not calling the patient right. He's calling the patient right. Number diagnosis. Diagnosis and then that patient will say, same today. If this was the lab patients, imagine it's saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I say the student in chair 6. And he will be feeling like something, right? The names had. But it's different when you say had, has, give us an idea of what look like. This is the students and journalists. What do you think? Is there a difference?
Yeah.
The patients you feel comfortable to take more and more and more, and helps you, give you, and enrich your district table. If the patient is not communicating to you, you will not be able to see the patient's lifestyle at home. Because you will say, you don't ask. In fact, you're not giving a chance to speak. Okay? So, from today, you need to adjust such behavior in order to upskill your performance and show to be a quiet position in your field. And consider to be a unit of an excellent doctor. You need to, number one, understand your patients. When patients love you and trust you, they will market you as a physician in the market. Even if you are working in a governmental hospital, tomorrow you will be inshallah able to open your own business. Your own business will depend on your name, and your name depends on your practice. Your practice depends on what you have done, not about what you are going to do. Okay? So complexity is the norm of healthcare. That's why we have to understand it and to deal with it. One of the key factors is communication. We have to rectify this. Number three, we have to follow the guidelines. As I told you before, the STEAM, safety, patient-centered, timeliness, efficiency, effectability, and efficiency. So that's why we talked about human factors. Human factors, very important. Do you remember in the previous lectures we will talk about human factors? We talked about the intentional, unintentional, the splits and memory lapses are non-intentional, the mistakes and violation. So that's why it's good to record, because this is like the basic psychology of us as a human. We tend to make errors. And if you don't make errors, you're not human. Okay? You need to do making errors, but when you make these errors, if you put precaution in your performance, so precautionary, let's say signs or alerts, you will mitigate the risks of any error that you might make. Okay. The other thing is we talked about it, it's steep. I imagine that report, 7,000 deaths. This was 20 years ago. Resulted from medication errors. 7,000. Maybe nowadays it's doubled or tripled number. Okay. And most of them are occurring in a hospital, and some of them are outside the hospital. Why we consider medications outside the hospital?
Because we give the medication.
Yes, we give the medication. But if you give me this other patient and you're okay? You give me the medication, I talk at that point. Why I had zero overdose?
I didn't educate you.
Thanks. Education is very important. You need to instruct the patients about everything. Have you heard about sort of techniques to educate patients, especially medication? What's that?
Feedback.
Huh?
And they repeat what you.
Yeah, excellent. Because communication is fine, feedback. But in the session, they say, I give you the medication now, to go for this job, what they have to do.
Give myself.
Yeah.
Confident.
Yeah.
Make them take it.
Exactly. So, one of the things is the interviews. I mean, people at the time have available to you, but consider this is the patient, when he goes out of the hospital, one information can make a difference. The other thing, the patients, you will take the news for granted. That's your correct. But if you didn't open the door, so the patient will say, by the way, doctor, if you do not speak kitchen, I have some things at home. Okay? Can I take it? but you will not be able to understand or to acknowledge when I don't describe to you as a vision. So I give me say time and then say if I have I don't trust you or not you over to you, I'm not saying I have. And I have to give you this. You need to bring me these limitations to ensure that they are not destroyed. Okay? And avoid any chances of overruns. Okay? So inside the hospital, how are you going to reduce the risk of medication illness? How many of us are players in this process? We need to engage.
Doctor, pharmacist,
Yeah,
nurse, and patient,
doctors,
Nurses,
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 pharmacists,
sorry,
and pharmacy,
patient,
patients,
and patients.
and
So all of them will play a key role in this process, right? Is it the patient only, let's say now 90 years old, and then blind?
caregiver.
that's good.
Yes. Yeah. So such patients or caregivers. So the doctors, what you need to do with them? That's
Do with what?
to ensure proper medication needs.
Problem training,
Yeah, such medication. We call it safe medication use. So doctor needs to have training.
base information,
What else?
good
Good
communication.
knowledge, good knowledge,
Yeah, and some training will provide knowledge and skills. And
Communication,
yes, this is my point. Unfortunately, the school, we understand everything's relation to kitchen actions, side effects, the project, the crowd, the frequency, but we not, explore our ability. Some of us are very communicators, some of us are not communicators. We'll not be able to communicate. Okay, so we have to know ourselves what how to communicate. We need to make it sometimes clear, usable, easy to use. You can't speak with patients in English, and patients are not English speaking. Okay, if you are not Arabic speaker, you speak the language of that patient, you need to get the translator. And tomorrow, inshallah, we'll go overseas to study, etc. You will need visit the patients, maybe they're not Arabic or Arabic or they are English students. So again, you have to think about communication. Don't speak to the patient for somebody. Get that somebody with you and ensure that he or she will translate as how to ensure that by the three factors. What have you told? You see that diplomatic people when you sit with their translators. You didn't pick anyone. Okay, you picked somebody who's able to comprehend and also exactly says translate the statements. Otherwise, you will make it put problems between us two people, two countries, right? So it's the same thing in healthcare. But we're talking about sick. Just the nurses or nurses in general. How can we fix or to ensure the proper use of communication?
same thing. Training, knowledge, communication
Yeah. And communication here,
between the
the
doctor,
doctors and nurse.
Yes.
And nurse and doctor.
exactly. Doctor, nurses. So we are opening a new, it's a two-way communication. The nurse, if he or she feels comfortable and also able to say what in front of you, sometimes they get scared because they are Christian and maybe you didn't give them time to explain or to do. You have to be open with your colleagues, other colleagues, not only physicians, but even just the nurses and pharmacists. Pharmacy also, we have to train them about something very important, especially when we talk about nurses and pharmacy. They share two different tasks in the medication process. Can you tell me the medication process? Starts with what?
Diagnosis,
What's that?
diagnosis.
Prescribing
Transcript.
and then transcribing.
Dispensing.
And now transcribing is not any more important one.
Computer.
Yes, we don't have to get it from the chart into the medication form. It's already transferred by the registrated process in EMR. Okay, so prescribing, transcribing, them,
Dispensing.
dispensing,
Okay.
and after you dispense it, then where do you dispense the medication?
In the pharmacy.
The pharmacy, yeah. After that, you administer it.
Monitor.
On motivation.
Yeah. And then you monitor it after you give it. Okay? So you keep an eye on the patients. And here is the injection, for example, to be given. And the dispensing is you prepare it. And here you just write it. Okay? Pharmacy or pharmacists and nurses, they have to ensure that both when they do dispensing or administration, they have to do something very essential. But before they give any,
Verified. Verified.
yeah, I think it's part of my so. Okay. You have done already the hard parts, but let's try to dispense. I'm now a pharmacist. I'm going to dispense the medication. I did the 5 lines. I ensured that this is the way I have 5 patients. I close, I try to
Let's look at if there's medication that takes already on, or if there's any, if there's any contraindication with other medication you take
Okay,
in order to deliver functions that are.
excellent. So this is like one the region history is also in device. Let's say now you have really done that part, but you are now about to prepare the medication. I will mix together. You have to do calculations, right? How many parts is to do the calculations?
Mean, yeah, it's not plugging back.
The calculations, you need to mix them, you can do. Let's say, I said, my order, give my original is 28 days. Okay? And my, potassium chloride. So you give it a chloride, and you give it potassium, you give it big 5 water. Before you mix it, to ensure that it's 20 or 30 miles, whatever, in 1 liter. You hold it, and the whole should not say this. You are pharmacist that I know.
What pharmacy is the IBU?
Yeah, I'm a pharmacist and I know still the other day, I don't give it to you yet. I'm prepared. She already prescribed the medication. I received it by my screen. And if you want to agree. Now I have to give it to you. I have to
Approval
approve.
by the doctor.
So already the physician prescribed it. It's sure. It's a 3-5 water where the 20 is miles facing. Now I'm getting my injection together to calculate and to draw.
Bring to what you do.
Yes. You have to, when you prepare something, you have to make somebody to witness what you have done. And basically, why do we have to do that?
There's a state out of there's a state. Over
People
the,
are this, medication, you know. Why?
you have eyewitnesses, you can see what happened.
Yeah,
It's soon.
it's really true.
Yeah.
And so the correct dose, the guidelines has to be checked by 2 people. And I really stuff that sometimes I'm a junior and say I have 1 year, 1 month experience. My colleague, she has like 10 years experience. I want to check with her, please, without come and check at me. Is that okay? Raise the right, do this, okay? And she do it right. Okay? Oh, she comes to me and say, they correct time. Doesn't expect she's seen. I was saying. At this stage, we have no probability. We will have high chances that she might have made a mistake. We can discover it because two relations in there, on each person, the patient international, and that's because we give it, we might understand that there is an error. Okay. However, it has been checked by two parties. So they have two options, either to proceed or to stop investigation. That's why we have to have something called independent double checking. Independent double checking. What do you mean by independent double checking?
Each check is on its own, either on its own in the room, without the other doctor, then he leaves, then the other doctor comes to check.
So we need to have two brains, not one brain. Sometimes just two views. Let's put one brain. Okay, why? Because I don't practice my rights to verify or check after my colleagues complete. Because I'm sick. Or maybe I'm too sleepy, so I talk to my glasses. Okay, so that's why I think we never to I have to do my calculations, then please have to do it. You have to do it. And then have to say, okay, I did it. Because he might ask me, 4 times 5, whatever, it's about 20. 21, you understand? 21. Okay, we'll take 12 rounds. So isolate two people has to do it. Okay. Let's say we have only one person that I do. But I mean, it's impossible to have two in the dimension, isn't it? Right? So what can we do? We have one person.
Bring the nurse.
Oh no, it's not.
Do it twice.
How you do it twice? It's one brain now.
Do it once, and then she will walk away and go.
Okay. So,
Review it after time, after the period of time, after consideration.
I do the calculation, finalize. I need to do something else. Then I come back. And I already forget that you already done calculations. So I have to repeat them again. 1, 2, 3, 4. By repetition, you will minimize the risk of errors and your brain will be fresh brain, not the previous one. However, the same thing. So these are techniques in order to see how difficult. These ideas were not written 1 year ago. Nobody have small, because when they reach to an idea small, we have all the strengths indication. Why? We ask why, you know the 5 whys. Why we have done it? Well, it was 5 steps. Pharmacy was alone. Why the rest was alone? Because we have shortage of staff. Why have because we have no budget. Why we have no budget? Because this year we have no way, still the kids from some countries and private, etc. We have to take money. So what we need to do, explore with human interactions, how can we minimize and reduce the harm. So independent double checking is one of the rules to rectify problems. Okay, imagine 7,000 deaths annually happened just because of this problem, which is a huge number. And this cost, it does cost because in fact we are paying patients more money if they sue us in the hospital in the court, or maybe because the patients needs more stay in a hospital. So the patient has to stay, this is the 3 days, 3 weeks. Those 3 weeks also has to be paid by us as well. Do you remember the high heart medication? It's part of the international patient safety goals. What time is the prayer time? Okay, so we'll just go to the slide. So international patient safety goals, we have to identify the patient correctly, as you mentioned, by full name and MRN number. We have to improve communication as an effective communication by reading back process. Tell me what you have heard just a while ago. Improve safety of higher medication. We have to ensure that the medication in a hospital are managed properly in a safe way in order to minimize the risks of medication errors. Ensure correct site, correct procedure, correct patient surgery by time out procedure, right? And the site market, yeah. Reduce risks of healthcare association of infectious diseases like MRSA or corona, etc. by proper precautions used like hand washing, gloves, standard precautions, airborne precautions, droplet-free precautions. Each isolation has to be followed strictly in a hospital. Do not just take it for granted or easy or relaxed. Reduce the risk of patient harm resulting from falls. It's also a problem. The patient could die because the patient was not protected in the bed. Because the patient might jump from the bed. Okay. How? Because the patient, let's say he wants to go to bathroom and we put the side rails up and he tried to just jump over the side rails and we find the patient's might have, let's say, brain injury. While the patient has only hip replacement, for example. So the hip replacement has nothing to do with the brain. But now the patient is DNR, is brain dead, but successfully we did the hip replacement. Why? Because we do not protect the patients from falls. We do not restrict the patients. This is the bill that you can ring. Just if you want to go bathroom, just press it. Or if the patient is hectic patients and very difficult to deal with, you request a sitter to be on site all the time. Okay, we'll go to Ray and come back, inshallah. Thank you. It's it's not wrong. The indication was basically this is what's the ICD defined medication safety. There's a link below that slide. I'm going to suggest you to visit that website for more information about medication safety. So we talked about medication errors versus medication or drug adverse drug reaction or events. The medication error is the error itself, whereas the ADR is the outcome of that error. So it depends on how significant and critical is your action. It will be, and also the outcome will be afterwards. We discussed about medication process, which is starting with prescribing, dispensing medication, administering, then monitoring. We explored the role of transcribing. It's not existed anymore, especially in digital era nowadays. We used before to transcribe the medication orders from the physician orders into the medication order sheet in order to follow up with the medications you're using. But now it's already automated, so that step already excluded. Have you heard about LASA? That's a medication. It's stands for look-alike, sound-alike medications. Like look-alike, sometimes they show the way the packaging, it's look-alike. It's the company, they use the same coloring code to color the vials or the ampoules. Whereas the sounds like when I say Koza, Zoka, all of them, the sounds the same, but they have different mechanism of actions. Look alike, even sometimes the shape, not only the color. And the ingredients itself. For example, propofol, it's like a milk, okay? It's like a white liquid. And this is also can be as a milk solution, might be confusing for some of us, especially during emergency cases. You will have to see these two vials or ampoules. They look like exactly the same color codes, the font, everything. However, these two medications are different. The high-cost medications examples we mentioned about independent double checking, right? Today, and it's a must, especially for high alert medications, to prevent human error while administering medications and dispensing as well. Examples is like insulin, infusions, potassium, narcotics, sedation, warfarin, heparin, positive anadrops. Positive anadrops, those medications used for cardiac functions like dopamine, vitamin, norepinephrine, etc. One thing that I would like to discuss to you in relation to medication safety as well, in addition to what we have to today, is medication reconciliation. We have to reconcile the patients about all the in-use medication, especially if the patient gets admitted into our hospital. I have to ask the patients, please bring all the medication from home to here to hospital to ensure that you are not going to use them while you are hospitalized. Otherwise, the patient can have double doses or triple doses, and this will result in overdose. And the patient might have some safety issues, and this will be considered as a hospital, as our practice problem, not the patient. However, we have to instruct the patients not to use their own medication while they are hospitalized. So that's why, let's say the patient was admitted for cardiac problem, but the patient is an ongoing regime for treatment for breathing. As a cardiologist, maybe I wasn't focused on nephrology. So I have to say, okay, tell me about all the medications that you got to ensure that all these medications are going to be prescribed from the hospital and given by the hospital, by the nurses and by the providers themselves. Don't take it by yourself, even if you are expert in that. You can resume your practice if you leave the hospital. While we're doing this, to prevent any medical errors or any drug overdose or drug interactions or contradictions, etc. We have to focus that we will do reconciliations based on patient admission and then patient transfer from to another area or from hospital to another hospital and upon discharge. Medication reconciliation is a problem. It's a problem medication in healthcare. Some physicians, they found out they didn't have enough time to do it, so they have to prefer they leave it for nurses or others to do it. Pharmacy, they said we're not involved in this, we didn't know. So the immediate provider should be engaged in this. So that's why you can see luckily 61 of the problems, no harm. However, 33% is moderate harm or potential harm. 6% severe, like we have to get the patient's safety compromised by such a practice. So more than half of patients have less than one or equal unintended medication discrepancy at hospital admission. Why are we doing this? Because we don't focus the patient as in a holistic way. You have to look at the patient as a 360, not only with one dimension. So strategies towards safe medication use. In order, we have the clinician must select the appropriate medication and dose frequency and duration. Transcribing in a paper-based system. If there is any, if you work in a hospital, they still have paper-based. Think about transcribing. How can you improve this? It's actually very important. Must be read and properly interpreted by others. Do not just write it just like that. So people get confused about how to understand it correctly. Dispensing, the pharmacist must check the drug-drug interactions, allergens, and then release the appropriate quantity of the medication in the correct format. Administration, the correct medication must be supplied to the correct at the correct time. So correct patients at the correct time. In hospitals or long-term care settings, this is generally the responsibility of nurses or other trained staff. And in monitoring care services, its responsibility will be to patients and caregivers. So that's why we have to instruct and educate and train patients as well, and to engage them. Do you remember the 4 cycles? Pharmacy, nurses, doctors, and patients or caregivers. It's very essential for us to engage them. Here are some references for you to read about medication safety and medication errors and medication reconciliation. Any question? Any question? What did you say? Sorry. قلت شيء؟ أنت قلت شيء؟ لا يو. اللي رفعت يدك قبل شوي. اللي وراك اللي وراك. اللي وراك. أنا قلت تأشر عليك. أوكي. لا مش. اللي قدام. Okay, so okay. Do you have a question? أنت عندك question? أنت معك لابتوب صح؟ اللي وراك عندك question؟ اللي وراك طيب. سريع أقول عندك question؟